Good morning. I think we're live. I'm just doing a quick check. This is the first time, or welcome to the first live stream on Primal video. Just trying to get everything sorted here last minute, but I think that we are live and good to go. So the purpose of today's live video is to quickly run through basically the most common video or color correction tools for your videos. So we're not going to go into all the advanced stuff which you'd use for broadcast or for TV, which would be all your scopes and really getting technical. What we're going to do is cover the most basic color correction tools that you'll find in all video editing software. So if you're using something like ScreenFlow, you'll have similar sorts of things as you would in Premiere, but obviously on a cut down level. So I'm going to run through the basic tools, so things like your RGB curves, your HSL tools, and I'll explain what they are as we go, and show you how you can color grade your videos or color correct your videos really quickly, and even show you how I would color correct, or how I do color correct the videos on this YouTube channel. So I guess I'm going to jump into straight into Adobe Premiere. That's where I'm going to run through the tools. And again, I could probably open ScreenFlow as well and show you some basics in there. But the key thing here is to look at the overall tools and how explanation of how they work, and you can then apply those through. So also, the tools are the same for even things like Adobe Photoshop, and other photo editing tools. So at least you should get a rough understanding of how the tools work and the different tools that you can use to get different effects, and apply them to your video to make your videos look just that much sharper and more professional, but really quick. Okay, so I'm going to jump over now to Premiere. And we're going to bring in a clip. Media pending. It's always the way. Come on, there we go. So this is just a basic shot that was done quite a while ago. And what I've done is turn the quality down here as well, just for performance, because I am live streaming and editing on the same computer. And because this is the first one, I don't want to sort of overload the computer. So we've got a shot here, and it's not too bad. You can see that there's quite a bit of color in there already. So in Premiere, if we go to Effects, Video Effects, and down to Color Correction. Now, there's some common ones here, as I said, that you'll find in all of them. So the most basic place to start with your color correction, especially if you're using something like ScreenFlow, is with a brightness and contrast effect. So we'll drop that on. It's not, oh. Drop that on. So really very basic. We can adjust the brightness, and then we can adjust the contrast. Now that may be the look that you're after. You just keep tweaking back and forth. And really the contrast is the amount of color in there, whereas brightness is obviously how bright or dark the shot is. So a combination of the two, you can start to see, as we turn it on and off, the difference that we've made like that. Now obviously the whites here are now super bright and have a lot of punch, which may be something that you're after. I guess where I'm sort of coming to from with this video is you look at things like Instagram, where you take a photo and it could look absolutely terrible, but you apply a filter to it and then it looks really awesome. So if you take that approach with your videos as well, every video editing software will have the brightness and contrast effect that you can add on. So I just have to touch on that, because if you're using something like Windows Movie Maker, you may be limited to something just like that with nothing else. So that's why we've touched on it. I'm going to delete that now. So let's get to the good stuff. So if we go to color balance, HSL. Now it can be called different things, but these are pretty much, this is your color wheels. So here we go. Again, it's a very basic one that you'll find in most editing software. So your hue is basically your color. So you can see that as we increase this now, we're getting, the image is going more green. And if we go back the other way, it'll add more red and pink. So if your color's out, if you're recording and your white balance is out, which means that your shot's looking very blue or very green, then this is somewhere where you could start by playing with the hue. So if we take that back to 0, because that was pretty close, it's not too bad. So in this one, the saturation is basically it boosts the colors. So it'll make the blacks blacker, it'll make the whites whiter, but it'll also boost all the colors. So if we turn this up now, you can start to see that the sand and everything here is now much brighter. The water and the green, the green in the water is now much more green. So if we turn that on and off, it almost looks black and white after looking at it originally. So now you can see that there's actually some green in there with that on. Now really it's probably a little bit too much, so we can back that off a little bit. And then you've also got your lightness here that again you'll play with back and forth to get the look that you're after. Again, I'm not going to go into really so much detail on the technical of where your colors should be. I'm showing you the tools so that you can have a play and work out the tools that are number one in your editing software, and number two that are going to give you the effect and feel that you're after. So again, another very basic one, but we're not getting to the good stuff just yet. We'll delete that one. Effects. RGB curves. Now this is one that's going to be in most professional video editing software, and this is also one that's in Adobe Photoshop as well, and most photo editing tools. So we come over to effect tools. Now what these are here are your curves, they call them. So the master does all of the channels combined. Now the channels are red, blue and green. So you can actually individually click and drag and boost the green or subtract the green by lifting, moving it left or right or up and down. Same for the red and the blue. So I'll undo those three now. What the master does is it does all of them together. So it does the red, green and blue all at once. So you can see that if we grab it here, we're actually boosting and making everything brighter, and back the other way makes everything darker. But where this tool gets really, really cool is the bottom half, down the bottom corner, the bottom left corner, and it's the same for all of them, is the darks. And the top right corner of all of them is the whites. So in this example shot that we've got here, I would say that the blacks could be blacker, the whites could be whiter, so we're adding contrast to the shot. So what we'll do is we'll click down here somewhere in the lower bottom corner, bottom left corner on the line to create a marker there that we can then move. And you'll see that as we pull this down, the blacks are actually getting darker. So it's called crushing the blacks. And then in turn, up this other end, let's boost the whites a little bit so that the whites become lighter. What that gives us then is darks down this end, whites up this end, and in the middle is your midpoint. So your skin tones and things are in the middle, and your general mid-range colors. So you can see as we boost this now, we're blowing out the mid-range, not necessarily the whites or the blacks. So a combination of these tools can really help you refine and get the look that you're after. And if we turn this on and off now, you'll see the difference. So if this is what you'd originally shot and put it on YouTube, I'm sure you'd get some great results with it. But just to add that extra level of polish, we've now brightened it and made it look much more professional. Now, in saying that, if we look at this and go, cool, there's probably too much red in his skin tone, the same applies. So we can click and make 3 points along the red and only affect the red. So we can pull down the darker section of red, or we can make it brighter if we'd like. So you get full control over the individual colors in either the dark areas or the light areas of your shot to get the effect that you're after. So you can see now as we're playing here, it's making the clouds a bit more pink instead of blue. So again, the same with the blue, we can pull the blue back a bit to have a greener look. By removing the green, it therefore counters that with, we've therefore increased the red and the green, so to say. So this is probably the most important one. Either this, or delete this now and just show you what the difference was before I delete it. So a huge difference there. So the last one, and probably the most important, this is the one that I actually use for mine. What I'll do is just change up the shot here. So let's get rid of this one, and I'll bring in one of mine, I think this one. Keep existing settings. Oh, scale this one down so that it fits. No one needs to look at me that closely. Scale, scale, scale. Perfect. So let's now add on as a color effect the three-way color corrector. Just got a question on there from Mike Brown. Are these settings in Final Cut? Yes, so what you will find in your editing software is you will have, they may be called something slightly different, but the tools are all exactly the same tools. So you will have something very similar to the RGB curves. Whether they actually look the same or whether they're sliders, you will always be able to control. I should actually switch back here to answer your question. Sorry, you will have the same tools, but they may look slightly different. So in regards to the RGB curves that we had there before, where it was a diagonal line and you're adjusting the brightness up and down, in Final Cut they have sliders, and they call them low range, or the low is the darks, the high is the whites, and they go to midpoint. So that was the same. So the midpoint is the midpoint, the low is the bottom left of the curve, and the high is the top right hand corner of your RGB curve. So the tools are the same, but it's just learning how they work and how you can use them to best get the look and feel, or correct the issues if you've got any issues with the color in your video, to make them pop. So if we go back to this other one now, and we drop on a three-way color corrector. So this is the tool that I use. Either this or a combination of this and the RGB curves if I really need some extra detail in there. So here we go. Here are your color wheels. And again, you've got your shadows, which is your dark areas that we're talking about. You got your mid-tones, which is your mid-range, and your highlights. So the tools at the end of the day do the same thing, or very similar thing, but you get different levels of control based on the tools that you're using. So I like this one personally because if I wanted to add more red, I'll just click and drag from here and pull it up towards the red. Now you can see that I'm doing shadows here. These are the shadows. So only the dark areas are changing in there. I'll get rid of that. So what I would do in this shot, for example, is I would actually adjust the input levels and output levels, which is the same as adjusting the master that we did before. So we can up the middle to make the face brighter. We can increase the blacks, which actually makes the blacks darker. So if we keep going up here, I'll go to the extreme to show you what it's actually doing. And bring that back down a bit. And then we can increase the brightness of the whites if we need to blow out, to have a cool effect if that's what we're looking for. What I like about this one is it then also includes the saturation. So the second tool, that I showed you was the hue saturation. Well, this one has it built in with the one effect three-way color corrector. And most of your editing software will bundle them together like that, or you could add your curves adjustment and then add a saturation after that. So again, with our saturation, you can do all of the channels, or just the shadows, just the midtone, or just the highlights. So if we adjust the midtone here, what this will do is bring out my skin color. So you'll start to see that there, that I now don't look as pasty white as I actually am in real life. If we turn off the effect there now, you'll see the difference that we've actually made with that. So the whole background actually now pops. What we've done though is remove the, there was a balcony here that you now can't really see, which is fine because it's in the bright area of the video. As we turn this on and off, you can see the level of adjustments that you can make to make your videos pop. If we skim across here just a little bit, might have a better shot. Not really, that's no better. I'm sorry, I can't fix my face on these videos. So basically it's just then playing back and forth. So once you've then added the saturation, come back again and play with the dark areas and with the light areas to get the look that you're after, to match either the feel of your video or to fix any errors with your video. So something like that looks pretty good. It's bright enough. We could probably add some more color in which case we'll do it in the mid-tones area. And you could probably bring a bit of yellow in because it was yellow lights that were used, or we go the other way and make it look more filmic by adding sort of a tinge of blue, and then maybe adding make it a bit more contrasty. So it really depends on what look you're after, but these are the tools that you're going to find in all of your video editing software, from Windows Movie Maker right up to Avid. It'll be some combination of these. There's a huge difference there. So the next one then is I will color correct one more shot. So let's delete this one. Just to show you something that's not, what do we want to do here? Let's change the sequence settings. So this shot here I've used before in a previous demonstration, something that's not a person. So let's create a look or a feel on this shot so that it actually looks a bit more professional. See if I can make this a bit bigger for you there. Probably not going to make much difference. So I'll show you two ways. I'll show you in the curves, RGB curves, which was the first way that I showed you. Oops. I'll just trim this clip back there. Right, so basically this clip, the car comes along and stirs up the leaves. So we will, here, add some contrast to the shot. So let's make the blacks darker to make it look more filmic. Let's increase the whites. So I mean, straight out, if we turn that on and off, you can see that it's, the contrast has really made the shot pop. We can then tweak around the mid-range to lock in the look, and you can see that we can get more detail, or we can remove detail from the shot based on these such slight adjustments. So then if we play with the blue, we could probably add a bit more blue in and maybe a little bit more red. And again, it's just playing with these to see what you like the look of and how it fits the feel of your video. Brighten it up a little bit there. Let's have a look at the difference. So that was the original, and now we've got a bit of it's probably a little bit pink, so we might bring the red down a little bit as we scrub through this and turn it on and off to show you the difference. It's a much flatter image, the original, whereas now I've actually got some detail and some contrast in there, and it looks pretty filmic. So we'll remove this effect now, and I'll just show you again on the three-way color corrector. So again, the first thing I would do here is darken the blacks, which gets rid of the washed out sections of the image. I would increase the whites a little bit, but it's already pretty bright. You don't want to sort of really blow out by increasing the white too much. The bonnet. Then we can adjust the mid-range to see how much detail you actually want to have in there. And then we can start playing with the colors. So you could go to the extreme and make it look like a overcast day with some, a really sort of filmic look. Always tends to have either a washed out blue feel, or if it is more on the warmer side, depending on where it's actually shot. I guess the perfect example is CSI. CSI Miami is done in the color grade is always warm, a warm feel around it because there's lots of sun there, whereas the New York one is the cooler, so they've got a green grade on it. Again, without going into too much detail, it's just playing with these settings to get the look that you desire, to create the feel for the video that you're after. And here's the example there. All right, so that was the quick run through of color correcting and the tools that you can use. I wanted to keep this live stream really quick because I don't want to drag it out over hours for something that is so simple for what you'll actually need to use. As I said, we can go into so much detail on how you can actually color correct for broadcast to have your videos technically perfect, but for what I would imagine you're just looking to tidy up your existing footage or your iPhone footage or whatever footage you've got to make it look that much clearer and polished. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up there, and stay tuned because we will have another live video next week, and we'll keep them short and sharp. And make sure you subscribe at primalvideo.com to keep updated about the live streams, or subscribe to the YouTube channel and you'll get a notification there as well.